Welcome back to another episode of Bulletproof Dental Practice Podcast. It's me. I'm back.
You're
Craig
back.
went solo without me, but he didn't really go solo without me. He went solo, and then he republished something that gave
I went solo about you.
You did go solo about me. It's a beautiful thing, buddy. It was quite the monologue about me, and it was awesome. Thank you. But it made me uncomfortable. Listening to your own voice from 5 years ago is really uncomfortable.
You know what? Can I tell you something? You had a little bit of a rattle in your voice. I listened to it. Like that was.
Dude, I
like
was scared shitless.
I know. I could tell. It was like,
what am I doing? Why am I doing
a David podcast?
Well, it was also too. I was kind of like, what am I doing? You know, like I've always lived my life, make it to you or fake it till you make it. And I was like, I'm really faking it. I'm really trying to be a podcaster. And so I was quivering. I remember having a script for that, Craig, because I was so nervous.
It was so good though, man. It was so good. That's what lured me in. Like I said on the introduction, that was what lured me in. I remember when I was listening to it, I was like, man, this is going to be awesome.
I shit you not. It was 30 takes. I do remember that. It took 30 times.
Well, yeah.
Because anyway,
have we ever
here
done
we are again. We're all
united.
There's three of us on. There's Chris. Just going to bring the heat today. Chris, why'd you just go no video?
I don't know what just happened.
Oh, look at that camera tracking you. Your voice is so deep. I like it. Sounds good.
Chris, reunited. So what we're going to talk about today is this is always a fun time of the year for me, guys. Personally, I think it's when you get to kind of take a break a little bit, especially when office shuts down. I think you can kind of going back to the Naval, I think this is a big time for me personally, as like I feel like I sprint a lot. So I train, I sprint, and then I rest and I reassess. I think this is the great time of the year for me where I rest and reassess. And I use it to come out in January like roaring like a fucking lion, or a rhino in my case, which is my guy back there. And that time is important, and don't lose it, because there's few times in life when life is not moving all around you at the speed of light, so to speak. So I think these are good times to kind of re-audit, design what you want. If this year didn't go the way you want, then the next year is going to go exactly the same. And what I mean by that is, if you don't make, doing the same thing over and over again, and expecting a different result is just hopium, and it's insanity, as we know. So this is a good time of the year, in my opinion, to assess what you liked about the year, assess what you didn't like about the year, and then get ready to make some damn changes for the next year.
Amen. Amen.
Totally.
So that pivot, we're going to pivot into something actually in marketing, because I think there are changes that are constantly evolving, and we're going to talk about things about website design. Ironically, I know I just went from a holistic top level down of like your life, and now we're going to go down into the minutia of website, but a lot of sometimes is marketing changes and things to be aware of, because if you didn't like the level of your practice production, if you didn't like the level of your new patients, if you didn't like a lot of the things you got this year, then taking the analogy of what I said from a top level down, make some changes.
Peter, I like what you're saying. I also like the idea that, if you don't like what you're doing and where you're at, I agree with Peter. This is a time for me where I kind of assess things globally, how things are going. But I think that the dental people tend to conflate the entire industry as to one type of dental office. And we all have different practices. Every single practice is completely different. The avatar of the patient that we're trying to attract is different. Take a look at whether or not you have a marketing problem, or maybe you just have an insurance problem, or a new location. You don't have the right location, or maybe your facility needs an update. Maybe you need more team culture. You have a team problem. Because if you can spend shit tons of money on websites, marketing, all that stuff, but if you have a crappy culture, if your office looks like, it hasn't been redone in 15, 20 years, like the Brady Bunch or whatever, or you just, maybe you're slammed with insurance patients and you're bragging to your dental friends that you're booked out 6 months. That's not a good thing. Take a look at everything holistically and really kind of evaluate where you're at. Are you happy? Are you doing the amount of clinical production that you want? Do you want less clinical production? Do you want more associates? Do you want less associates? Do you want to go back to solo practice? Take a look at all of it and audit where you are. And if everything is going great, but you think like the front door needs to be a little bit wider open, the website's a great place to look at. So we're going to go on the micro. We're going to go on the micro of that.
Well, it astounds me, guys, that how after being in digital marketing for 20 years, that the website now seems to be an afterthought. And that is, everyone gets so focused on Instagram and, oh, should I be on TikTok? And it's like, don't worry about TikTok. Your website sucks. It's a bunch of stock photography and you barely rank on Google. So start there. And it doesn't matter how like, it's not, you can always do better. And I think there are a lot of easy ways out. But ask yourself first, when one of your patients goes to your website, is it reflective of the quality of work that you're doing there? Most likely it's not, right? So it is I would argue it's probably the most important part
Chris,
of
100%. And here's where I'm going to go with this is that look at consumer behavior, meaning people pull up Instagram when they're bored. People pull up things like that. So that's an entertainment factor. When someone's willing to get in and do some due diligence on the healthcare they need, they don't go to Instagram for research. They go to the internet. They look at reviews, as Craig has always said. They're quantifying this. So it's a different contextual platform. Is it great to have Instagram present? 100%. Social media is absolutely important. But the context and the mindset and the psychology of the person who's going there is in a quite different space than the person who is, I'm going to dig in and find a new dentist. They do not pull up Instagram.
Right. Not first, at least.
Not first. Yeah.
Well, maybe they oftentimes, sometimes
it's changing. It's changing. Look, it is changing. Looking for hashtags and things like that. I'm saying we're all saying the same thing. I'm just saying that, Chris, I agree with you that this is a foundational piece that can't be overlooked even in 2022. So let's jump into it. We've got some 10 tips that we have. And we actually made this sheet here and we've modified already one of them because we felt like it wasn't a valid point to bring in. So we're going to change it with something else we said. So we're just on the fly. And this is how dynamic this shit changes. Honestly,
this is how dynamic and badass we are.
No,
I know.
That's not what I know.
I know.
The industry itself, Craig.
No, I know. I just
but
thought it was funny.
But also, we're dynamic because we need to pivot and roll and we check our egos at the door. Just like that podcast you just launched, Craig, checking your ego at the door, right?
Yeah, no, it's true.
Yeah.
It's true. We all three of us, we've done a lot of like personality testing between the three of us for our own businesses and stuff like that. And all three of us share a high level of inventiveness. So we are types of people that are just constantly changing the game, always want and craving to change the game. Change actually fuels us and status quo does not. So with that, let's jump right into it.
Let's jump into it. Obviously, mobile is important, right? And so everyone harps on this. So number one is mobile optimization, and everyone thinks that their site is optimized for mobile. And luckily nowadays with responsive web, the way that your site has probably been built on a responsive web platform, it does merge down. There's a difference between being responsive though and being mobile friendly. And so what I would encourage everyone to do is go to this web address. You can actually type in mobile friendly test, and it's a Google test. Okay, so it's a Google domain. You go to search.google.com/test/mobile-friendly. But if you search Google mobile friendly test, it'll come up. You put in your URL and it will give you the diagnosis from them. And guess what? They are the only ones who matter.
Exactly.
Meaning if you come back and it says, yes, you're mobile friendly,
but on Bing,
cool. Move on to move. Exactly. They are the judge.
You're trending in Ethiopia.
You're doing great. I'm going to tell you that, Craig.
Statistically, you're looking at 61% of people will leave your website immediately if it's not mobily optimized. Like, I mean, you're talking about more than half. And I mean, if you look at just some of the trends that are happening within mobile search, it's accounting for 59% of all search. I mean, it is by far the primary platform. And it does astound me how few sites are still mobily optimized. And, I think people want the easy button. I feel like in any industry, it's like, hey, let's just do the easy button and let's go build a new website in Squarespace. We're not recommending that, right? Like, because you still need to accommodate for some of the search. So I would say almost like a secondary recommendation within this trend is don't go for the easiest way out. You got to put in a little bit of that time and effort to build it out properly. So that from an indexing and Google search side that you're actually coming up.
Yeah. So I just ran my site right now it says check your page is mobile friendly. It took a while though, so I thought it was going to come back with some things, but luckily it was mobile friendly. I'm going to run Spodak Dental now just to
Thank
see,
God.
and
Thank God.
hopefully it's not mobile friendly.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding, Greg. So I can just taunt you for the rest of my life, Greg.
Yeah. You
I'm
know what's
sure it
funny
is.
though? Even today, like I always remembered having conversations with web designers, and it's like, well, make sure you go to your desktop. I'm like, well, why? Because it looks good on there. I'm like, well, I'll never go on my desktop again and look at it. So
Exactly.
it's funny. The advertising industry is super backward. They really just care about getting you
Well, it's
creativity.
not, but Craig, it is.
Creative
If you look
reward.
at your analytics, you're right. You are right. It's probably 60% mobile now that's looking at your site, and probably 30% desktop. But there are still desktop views.
Yeah, I mean, it's a first impression versus a second impression. Most likely
Good
the first
point.
impression is happening on mobile. And then when people are actually, okay, yeah, I need to look a little deeper, then they're going to
It's hard to build beautiful on mobile. I got to tell you, like it's been a struggle. When people say that, I'm like, oh, and you want to kind of start there, make it beautiful first. Like almost if I was redesigning a site, which I'm not, but if I was redesigning a site, I would probably start with my conversations with the web designers. Like, let me see the mobile first, and then we can always expand the desktop to look beautiful, right? But like, I don't want to see any mobile first. I don't want to see any mobile mock-up. I'm sorry. I don't want to see any desktop mock-ups or renditions or anything. I want to see the beta and the mock-ups in mobile first before I choose you or before I move forward. Craig, spodakdental.com has checked out. It is mobile friendly, my friend.
And congratulations, Craig.
Oh my God, I was so nervous, guys.
So let's move on. So I think we've got that.
Talk about mobile friendly, by the way, before we talk about this. Well, I'm going to hold it. I'm going to hold it for number 3. I'm going to hold it for number 3. Go ahead.
Well, number 3 is actually changing. That was the one.
No, I know, but I have something to say about it. So number 2.
All right. Number 2 is fast load times.
So
this is where I get a big fat D.
I get an F.
I think you did get an F when I ran the test, actually.
Yeah, thank you.
Or vice versa. You got a D and I got an F.
We both.
So sucked. This is something that is tough. So it's that having content and video and all these things we want to have on our site, and it looks good and it converts well, but guess what? It loads badly, right? Big videos, custom. So this is what you want to kind of look into. And this is my project for the beginning of the year, is to increase load times on my website to get at least to a B, and optimizing the images. And actually, if you go to Pingdom, tools.pingdom.com, Pingdom, not Kingdom, Pingdom, Pingdom.com, tools.pingdom, you put in your website, it'll tell you, it'll give you a grade. It'll tell you the load speed, and then it'll tell you what is actually like the bad actor on your site, meaning it's your JavaScript, it's this YouTube thing,
your animations,
It'll tell you what's causing some of this. So Chris, do you have
we're doing a lot of talking. You're the actual marketing. This guy's spoken for like Nike and stuff, why are you the quiet one?
I mean, no, I'm going along with it. I mean, it's for more than anything, it's just take yourself through this. What do you do? What's the first thing that you all do when you're going to look up a business or something you want to buy? And if you put yourself into that mindset, you'll start to understand why we're prioritizing the ones we are. And I mean, the fast load time thing, I think it's also easy to get carried away with like trying to take on a massive build for your website. Start small, right? And versus trying to do everything at once, sometimes the simple way out is a lot better than, I mean, if you look at both of your websites, Craig and Pete, how many pages? I mean, they're heavy in terms of depth and width, right? Like, so I think sometimes you don't think that you have to do everything at once. And, the fast load times will come with finding the right developer to put this stuff in place and not having heavy video out of the gates. And
sometimes, Chris, I guess what I was saying is that there's some easy little things you can tweak, like, holy shit, I didn't know this image was not compressed at like 200 megabyte image, right? Or whatever it is in this video. And also, Chris, I want to hear what you think about this question. Do you think this number 2 becomes a little less relevant as we get into 5G and faster connections?
I mean, I think to a certain extent, but like you still have to you have to accommodate for the lowest hanging denominator in that, right? And so I think we're a while away before everyone's got the new. I mean, seriously, look around the tables at. I mean, even our mastermind. It's amazing to me how many of those still. Brian, we're talking about you here.
Yeah, Brian, get yourself a new phone.
6-year-old phones. So I don't think we're quite there yet. I think it'll change in the future, but we still need to make sure that's being put into play as we put these things together.
There's someone out there yelling at me. He's like, Androids are way faster, idiot.
It's true. They are. They are.
They probably are.
Number
Number 3,
much better.
we are changing. We had micro animations because it was something we got a intel on that we could kind of compress, make things into GIFs on our site, and GIFs are, but like that turned out to be not something we wanted.
Tell me why that's not real, Peter. We haven't talked about this yet because I love that. If it works.
If it works, right? But like I've been trying to do it, Craig, and I have talked to a bunch of people, and it's hard to do. Meaning I did it, and guess what? The GIF was actually bigger than the video.
No way.
Yeah. So there are sites that will help you compress things. If someone really wants to dig in and look at it, you can use something called handbrake.fr, and it is freeware that you can download and you can put in, and you can really compress the shit out of your video.
Because that'd be so cool. I love
but it's not going to GIF. It's not going to GIFs or GIFs.
Okay, got it. But I just love the idea that every little web page you pop up has a little movie. It could be a GIF.
I love it too.
Ferrari.com mobile. I'm not a Ferrari owner. I don't think they make a Ferrari large enough to fit my lanky ass. But
you used to squeeze into a Porsche.
I know, but I can't fit in a Ferrari, bro.
Really?
I can't.
I mean,
like literally, I don't care that I can't.
Are those sports cars all the same? Aren't they all the same?
No, it's a German versus Italian thing, I think. But anyway, we digress. The Ferrari.com, they have like when you navigate through their web pages, I just think it's super cool, like little flashing cars, angles of it. I think that would be so cool for dentistry too.
Chris, what was Ferrari's budget, you think, for making a website?
Probably more than the 5. Mine was 5,000. Is that so? What, Chris? What can I get? You sure?
Yeah. I mean, guys,
it's a $1 million problem. You can fix it. It just
but you're
takes
also
$1 million.
talking about literally put into the context. You're talking about Ferraris here. I mean, people barely have a car that they can drive with their website. So don't even worry about the micro animations with the videos that are playing in the background when you have a bunch of stock footage of your practice. That, to me, like I go back to our first conversations with our mastermind around their websites. I could not believe how many people had generic stock footages and not even anything. They have the most beautiful practices.
I know.
Chris, in their environment.
So this is what we were changing number 3 to. This is what we're changing number 3 to as we pivoted early in this call before we hit record was get rid of micro animations, which we're talking about too much. And let's say scrap your stock footage. So Chris, keep going. All these beautiful practices.
People want to. I think us as dentists, we forget that one of the biggest things that we have to take down is the fact that patients are scared of you. So how can you bring some of those characters to life, those different doctors and your hygienists, and let them be the star of the show on your website? And also with these amazing facilities, and almost every single one of you have beautiful facilities. Just put a little bit of budget into capturing that, right?
Photographer.
I mean, the photography inside of your practice goes so far.
And that's an easy button too, Chris. I agree. You can find any photographer. Photographers are abundant. Good photographers in your town. Say, hey, I want you to come in and just take some shots all day long, of our reception area, of our people in action. I need to replace some of these images that are on my website now. Can you find me good examples? But I agree. That's an easy, like video. It's a little daunting for people still, right? But like hiring a photographer to come in for $500 and bang out a bunch of edited videos that are ready to replace all the stock photos that you were given by your dental web designer, who probably regurgitated those pictures on 50 other people's websites.
Yeah.
By the way. So
I mean, you have flat screens on the ceiling, like, and there's no photo of that. Like, come on.
Or the reception areas, right? Chris,
The
you're right.
reception
We had
areas.
an example recently where it was a stock image of someone's office, and then we went to their Google My Business page and actually saw the real. And we were like,
Oh my God. I was
"What the
like, dude, you're
hell
the
are you
biggest. I was
doing?"
like, you're the biggest secret. You have a beverage station. You have like the amazing sterilization area. He had CAD cam. It was like mind boggling. And he had like the happy lady eating salad on his website. Yeah, that stock image of like happy lady eating
Such a
salad.
low hanging fruit. Such a low hanging fruit, right? All
Well,
right.
salad's not a fruit, by the way. Just
Well, if it
tomato's
has
a fruit, FYI. Okay,
has
let's keep
tomato
going.
on it,
Sorry.
I was going to
It's
say.
true. So
Thanks,
true.
thanks, Craig.
Yep.
Okay, number 4, search engine optimization. Chris, hit it.
Yeah.
What
What
I
is
mean,
this
to-
SEO you speak of? What is this?
What is this SEO?
but this was, to me, my mind was reeling at the fact that even talking to images, right? Things are changing so fast in the SEO world. So you need people like Pete and Craig to bring you up to speed as to what those changes are. To me, the biggest change that I learned in one of our mastermind calls was that Google is actually indexing your photos and categorizing those to then help with your ranking. What I mean by that is
Using
that
AI.
using AI. And so
Mhm.
if you have
Alan Iverson?
if you have a picture of, let's just say, one of your dentists practicing, the angle of where his face is facing that photo will help indicate whether or not it gets indexed as a dentist or surgeon, right?
No, or
And
eyewear. Remember, like they said, Google's like
Yeah.
looking at what do they think this photo is, and then Google thinks it's a photo of like men's glasses versus being a dentist.
So
But
this
this
is
is by
something
far-
called vision. This is something called image classification, right? And this is a project from Google called Vision AI. And you can actually Google this and log it in, and you can input your photos that you have, and Google will tell you what it thinks it is. Okay. So this is, remember, I used to talk about alt images and telling Google, which is valid, right? This is a picture of a handpiece. If it's a handpiece, and you put that in the alt images, because then it shows up on Google image search. But now it's Google saying, cool, we understand you could do that, but we don't trust you people anymore. We're just going to do it for you. And we're going to automate this with AI.
Well, it's not
But
that
it
they
is
don't even
interesting to
trust. It's
see-
just people aren't indexing their own photos. People are not
course.
telling Google what it is. So Google
Of course.
has to fix this.
Right. So now it can detect whether you're a cat or a human. It says here, Google
Yeah.
Vision can detect whether you're a cat or a human, as well as parts of your face. It tries to detect whether you're posed or doing something you wouldn't be okay. So it's taking these things all the way through and saying, like, that's a dentist. Let's put this in the Google search for Google image search for dentist. But all these things, the more you can, I think, Chris, your point is, the more things that you can get specificity with, right? Categorize into Google's favor of, like, this is a dental office, this is an
Yep.
operatory, this is the thing. Maybe that's
and
a
there's so many
far-fetched example.
services, it's over, everyone's overwhelmed. Like, and we
Mhm.
just talked about the tip of the iceberg, probably one of the more sophisticated things that you can do within your website to better rank. But you've got probably cleanup on aisle 9, and it's easy to probably go for a Yext or one of these other offerings that are out there. We are not suggesting that, but you need someone to help you optimize and accommodate for a lot of these new things that are changing. I mean, Pete and Craig, you guys have your trusted resource. I don't know if we want to mention that here, but I think it's super important that you don't try to learn all this stuff yourself, because it's ever evolving, and most likely you have a lot of cleanup that you need to do.
Yeah, there's really only, Chris, I always say this, even in summits, it used to be that you could gamify your way to the top. You could pay your way to the top with search engine optimization. Now it's really just boiled down to 2 things. Are people referring to you, i.e., are they linking to you authentically? And are you creating content that is getting linked from those links? Meaning, are you actively creating content? If you haven't updated your website in probably 5-6 years, then you're probably not boding well in terms of the entire ranking ecosystem. But you need to be, unfortunately, it is a dynamic machine, and that you have to be constantly creating content.
And
Well,
I think to that point, though, Pete, it's easy to get distracted with some of these things, like what we learned with the blogs.
Mhm.
So many
Mhm.
sites are still paying, outsourcing, updating their blogs because they see that as a good way to create new content, when that doesn't even really matter anymore.
Yeah, it really doesn't. I mean, yeah, blogging is I mean, the concept of blogging is great, right? It's content creation, but I think there's ways, and you can really find some low hanging fruit if you're looking for more traffic. Look at what people are searching in, and using those tools like Uber Suggest helps you find the search terms associated with the pages, and then look for low competition but high search volume. And it's ubersuggest.com, and that's a really good tool. People always ask me like, well, I don't really know what to make content about. Get very niche with
Yeah.
your content, right?
Yeah.
Create a video on it real quick, a 2-minute video, some text, throw it up on your site, right? And name it what people were searching from a title tag standpoint. And that's pretty much it. That's pretty much it. And I'm not saying that's the silver bullet and all of a sudden you'll be, but you keep doing that time and time again, and you start
Yep.
getting noticed, especially if especially if you have domain age, meaning that you've been around a long time. Like I registered my domain in 2002, right? So Google says, holy shit, he's been around a while, right? So I can get published more so than if you registered my stuff quicker than if you registered a website today. Google doesn't know you. It doesn't have a trust factor with you.
Yeah,
So the
Google's just
people,
trying to figure out what the people really
who's
want, and they're
legit,
looking
who's
who's
not.
legit. That's all the
Yes.
algorithm is. So it's like the more everything feeds to SEO. If you're being talked about on social channels, if people are recommending momnextdoor.com or whatever, it's just so there's really no hack. There was Web 1.0 where you could just hack your way to the top, literally MiamiBestDentist.com, and best, put all that bullshit out there.
And that's a good point you bring up, Craig, because I think if you're paying right now for quote unquote SEO, I would, and this is just me, I don't want to get a bunch of hate mail, I would really audit what that looks like. Because it could be, again, I'm going to not use the word 2 times in one podcast, but it could be regurgitated blog posts that you're getting that is quote unquote being told it's SEO. And I promise you, it's not helping you. It might actually be hurting you. If it looks very similar.
Tactically, Pete, what's the best way for those listening to check how they're ranking from an SEO perspective? What do you suggest in terms of tactics?
Yeah, so just like be a dentist, be a consumer, open an incognito browser because Google knows it's you searching your own site. Open an incognito browser and see how you rank. See where you come up. Type a bunch of terms: best tennis, Minneapolis, best, veneers, Houston, whatever. Like, see where you come up. But if you don't go in an incognito browser, there's really no way to kind of know, because Google knows your search history, knows it's you, knows you're the owner of that site.
I mean, you know where this is really going, by the way? It's like, so Amazon is doing a great job of like putting things on my shopping cart that I'm like, yeah, I probably would like that.
Yeah.
So it's like Amazon's going to start sending you stuff, and the stuff you don't like, just return. Same way, like Google will work on the fact that like you go to this type of restaurant, you love this restaurant, you go 4 times, you go to this type of gym, this is going to be your dentist for you. It's gonna, because I see that on Google's algorithm, like what type of percentage match things are for me, because it tracks me and it knows like when I go to a restaurant 3 or 4 times, you'd probably like this type of restaurant. And there is a correlation, like a person that would like this type of restaurant, this type of retail environment would probably like Atlanta Dental Spa.
Right.
So it's the only way. I mean, although we're talking about hacks, we're talking about a list, you've got to find your avatar of what you're trying to attract as a patient. Going back to what I said initially, it's not web for everyone. It's like, what type of dentist do you want to be? And I know everybody hates when I go here, but they just, shit, Spodak's going off on this thing about vision, what you want to create. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to hire the web guys and they're going to make it for me. No, actually spend time. If you thought about restaurants and you told someone, I'm going to open up a restaurant, when I think of that, I have no idea what you're talking about. I don't know if it's Chick-fil-A, if it's a Houston's, if it's a Morton's. I am like, tell me more about the restaurant. But in the dental industry, I'm going to open a dental spot. A dental office. Everybody's like, oh yeah, I know exactly what that looks like. I know what you're going to do. It's bullshit. Every dental office is just like a restaurant. It serves a different type of patient. So I think before you go down this rabbit hole and doing all this stuff and driving yourself crazy with all these hacks, spend a little bit of time on because ultimately, spend a little time on what you want to create, because ultimately Google will find, and Amazon will find, and Alexa will find the type of people that are going to you and get you more of those.
So true.
So you could be like, well, right now I'm kind of startup. I just want to take every insurance. I want to just kind of do patchwork dentistry. And eventually I want to be a cosmetic dentist. Well, shit, by the time you get there, Google's going to be pushing all these patchwork people, people like you, like this, hey, people like you, like Jiffy Lube.
Craig, I don't know if you noticed it or not, and it's such a good segue into our next tip, but you said Google, blah, blah, blah. And then Alexa will say, I don't know if you did that
Yeah, I did.
subconsciously.
No,
How
I
cool
know.
is that?
I know Alexa's going to suggest that, but yeah, going onward. But I
That's a
think
very good one.
I think it's important just to know
Yeah.
that, because as the algorithm improves, that's what they're going to do. So just
Number 5.
Yep.
Peter Progress wanted to get through this, right?
Peter Progress.
I
Let's
like to
go.
stay on
There's
track.
only 27 of these, right? There's 10.
Number 5 is voice search optimization. This is a challenging one, but it is becoming more and more prevalent, meaning looking at ways that you can be optimized for the Googles, like an Alexa. Alexa, find me a dentist, right? So how do you do
Or
this?
Ask Jeeves. Is Ask Jeeves still around?
Yeah, it's not, Craig. It's not
Okay,
around.
just because I just
That
checked.
was a pretty awesome search engine, by the way.
What were
I like
the
that.
other search engines? Because
Alta Vista.
okay. Bing, right? Is Bing still around?
Bing's around
He's
still.
still around.
Yahoo. Ask Jeeves.
Do you know the number one the number one search term on Bing is Google?
Yeah,
That's
it
awesome.
Isn't that
It really
This
is.
so awesome.
That's got to be like the biggest gut punch in the planet.
No.
Because it
So
comes
going back to-
pre-installed in some software you actually downloaded.
Yeah.
You download like your BlackBerry style software, and it came with Bing and made your default browser Bing. I don't know why I just find that so funny. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Carry on.
This is a hard one, guys, for optimizing, because no one really knows exactly, like there's not a widget that you put in your website that says now you're optimized. Now it does go back to kind of the SEO thing, is that you want to optimize for conversational speech, meaning long tail keyword phrases like finding, Google, and then whatever someone would say after that. What's the best dental office near me? Or what's the best dental office in Atlanta? Right? Optimizing for longer tail keywords is something that can help you, as well as getting FAQ sections that are asking like conversational questions, like having a frequently asked questions page on your website that goes over all these things. And that's where you can put in some of these, like finding out what people are saying, meaning, anticipating what people would say to their AI bot in their house or their phone, and then actually making FAQs that fill in that bucket, because that will get picked up.
I have
Chris,
a feeling
anything
this
else?
is one that will move up. Just anyone that has kids, look at how your kids use the internet. And I mean, it astounds me. I have a 9 and 11-year-old daughters, and they are using Alexa and Siri for almost everything. I think this is one that we'll see move up in terms of the prioritization. But what an easy way to accommodate for that with an FAQ section.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm laughing. You know why I'm laughing? Have you guys seen the South Park post-COVID episode yet? So
No.
it's 40 years in the future, and Alexa is this like annoying wife, basically. So the whole time he's like, Alexa, turn the car. Alexa, he's like, oh, you're going to liquor store again, Stan? Maybe you shouldn't, maybe you shouldn't do that. Maybe you should actually get a job, Stan. It's like, Alexa, stop. And he the woman evaporates. Like this annoying wife. It's Alexa. It's a beautiful, South Park is brilliant. I don't know why. You guys want me to jump off this podcast, by the way? Because
No, you're good. It's good.
I could
It's
just
good.
leave if you-
It's good segues into number 7, which
Okay.
is accessibility, Craig. Making
trying
it
to make me
available.
relevant here.
Yes, it's a great seg. Making sure that your site can be translated into multiple languages. Make sure you're going dark or light modes if that's something you do. And just making it be flexible. I think that's a decent tip to look at.
By the way, there is ADA legislation, so you should I don't know enough to speak intelligently about it, but you have to make sure that your website has the ADA. Do you guys know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
For a font size and can luckily a lot of that is being covered by the level 1, meaning Google, meaning it in translation. Like you don't have to be quote unquote ADA compliant on your website.
So there's less liability because Google will fix it for you. Okay,
Correct.
got it. Good.
Yeah.
Okay, I just remember that.
Number 8 is social proof, and we kind of touched on this earlier as talking about the Instagram versus the website. Obviously, social proof plays into the whole ranking algorithm and your whole marketing ecosystem. And not only is it a social proof from a review aggregation, right? Always be putting your gas on the reviews, no matter if you've hit 1,000 or 2,000 or whatever it is, your foot is always on the gas. There's always a cadence. There should be. That's point number 1. And that is part of social proofing, because people will go and look at the relevancy of those reviews and they will read them to dig in when they're doing their own research. The second thing, like Craig was saying, is making sure that you're kind of relevant in social media? Meaning, are people actually talking about your office in the smile makeovers or whatever? And, if you're not on Instagram or not on Facebook or not on some of these social proofing platforms, like 2022 would be a good year to do that, right? And make it a goal. Make it a goal. See how many followers you can get in 2022. Make gamify it. Like we got those little things a long time ago, Craig, and I think you got them right along with me. Was the counters, and there's probably several other companies now.
A Smurl,
The
SIMIRL.
Smurls.
Yeah,
Yeah, you put them in your office and gamify the people who follow you. So
sure.
every patient that comes in your office should be following you on Instagram, right? But make it a game. Try to get if you're at 100, say in 2022, let's get to 1,000. And put those
Social's so
Smurls in there.
powerful. Social's so powerful now. And I know this is not for everyone to take this, but social, a really, really robust social channel for a doctor can actually take the place of everything because
Mhm.
because everybody's on social, but you have to do it right.
Yeah, unfortunately, fortunately, unfortunately, it's one of those things. And does it take time? Yes. Is it exhausting? Yes. But does it yield results? Absolutely. I mean, I know doctors who literally, Chris, you would cringe at this because you told us we need websites still, but they've gotten rid of almost everything
Yeah, they've gotten rid
other
of
than their
Google My
social.
Business profiles. They've gotten rid of their Yelp page.
But again,
They
that's
marked
one
the,
unicorn.
but they
And
marked the business as permanently closed, which is
yeah, because
brilliant
he was
because
getting such bad reviews.
right, but you can control the narrative on
Yeah.
Instagram. The only problem is if you get deplatformed, you're
Mm.
you're in trouble. I want to give a shout out to, by the way, one of my doctors, Lizelle. She joined me like maybe a year and a half ago, and she started her own little Instagram page. And her first post was literally a year ago. And now at Dr. Lizelle, 33,000 followers, Pete. 33,000 followers.
On Insta?
On Insta from 1 year. And I mean, she works her ass off on it, but she also got an FMR patient like on the spot because she has the right blend of like before and afters and her own, like, here, I'm a mommy. I do, I'm doing yoga. And like people came in and like, I feel like I know you. I'm going to, let's go ahead and do that, $60,000-$70,000 case like immediately. So she's getting like that level of engagement.
Yeah, we talked about this, on our podcast too, Craig, talking about like solopreneur versus like
right.
You can have your own brand inside someone else's. So you can be an intrapreneur of, basically she's entrepreneuring inside the context of your own practice, which is amazing.
And
right?
by the way,
so everyone wins from that scenario. You win because you're still actively putting people in her chair, and she wins because she has the ecosystem to now market herself.
Right. So just to give you an example, so for those that are listening to think about this, she was a dentist for, basically a decade and never did cosmetics. She practiced in Massachusetts, like typical quadrant style dentistry. She comes here, she sees what we're doing here. She's like, I don't really like doing all that stuff. I just want to do quadrant style dentistry. She starts seeing what the transformations that other doctors are doing. She's like, damn, I want to do that. And then like took it upon herself, like, through discussing this to get educated, goes through a variety of courses, went through all the different cosmetic courses. And now she's it's amazing the dynamic nature of dentistry and what it allows you to do. And you can really pivot. So anyway, we'll go on to number 9. Artificial
Number 9 goes
intelligence.
back to AI. And this is talking about how everything is getting smarter. We talked about the vision AI. So the industry is definitely pivoting to AI, even in Google reading your images. But also this is talking about bots. And I think when someone hears the word bot, they're like, oh, great, a computer. But bots can really help, especially like smarter AI bots can really help with being there on your site, answering customized questions 24/7 for people. And do I think it replaces humans right now? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I think people do a better job. But the cool thing about a bot is, especially if you get down long differential things where it actually is pretty intelligent, like meaning chatbot AI. Is that who we use, Craig?
Yeah, chatbot.
Yeah. If you dig in and really,
oh no, ManyChat.
ManyChat. Thank you. I was
sorry.
like, that ain't right.
Yeah, sorry.
But you can, it's great because I always say, because you create your script one time, and it's never deviated from, right? And they can be pretty sophisticated, meaning like, hey, I see you're interested in veneers. Let me show you some of these cases that we just done recently. Like you can get that sophisticated, and it's there all the time. Doesn't cost you any money. It's 24/7. And do I think it converts people right there in the spot? I do. I think they have to pick up the phone and call, but like they can use the chat bot to then get confirmation and getting some information, because usually it's just people seeking information. And a halo bonus, a side bonus, or a halo effect, as Craig says, is that sometimes it can lessen the burden on your front business team having to get all those questions answered, right? Same with a good website. If you don't have a good website, someone has to call to find out this information. Guess who takes the brunt of that? Your front desk team, when really all you really want them to do is onboard new patients or deal with problems of existing patients, to help patients as a customer service thing. You don't want to have to be them going through the frequently asked questions 100 times a day, because time is money and time is efficiency. And if those, and what can also happen if you have one person doing that all day long, right? And it clogs up the phone for that FMR case that could be calling, that just got frustrated and now went down the street. Okay, I know I just went on a lot of things there.
No, it makes sense. It makes sense.
But
Does.
But it's
AI
also
is
patients will also appreciate the level of, a software tool like that, even if it's not as robust and real. Just the fact that you're like, hey, you have pain, upper, lower, left, right, those types of things can start to populate really good dialogue. And patients
I'm
will,
digging into, Greg, a cool platform that's kind of next level of this AI thing, that has some video. It's pretty neat. So it's I will report back as it gets flexed, but it could be like,
sweet.
when I saw it, the technology, I was like, this would be amazing for dentistry.
Yeah.
Amazing. So anyway, number 10. This is an important one. This is a very important one, and one
Last but not
that
least, it should
it
be first,
really,
actually.
yeah, it should be worse, but we saved the best for the most important for last. Chris, do you want to jump in on this, or do you?
Yeah, no, yeah. I mean, you run with it, but I mean,
All right.
this to me, I go back to our first conversations with the mastermind around their websites and stuff that seems so like common sense. I'm like, wait. You don't have ownership of your stuff. Like someone's
Yes.
taking you hostage.
So number
by
10 is
owning-
ownership. Number 10 is
Ownership.
ownership. Okay,
It's
so what
crazy.
is that? What does this mean? So all the aforementioned 9 we spoke of, everything's freaking moot in this instance. So Craig is right. This should be number one thing you check.
It should be illegal, by the way.
And it's
It should be.
well, it's not. It's not. So it should be, but like there definitely could be no legislation. We got.
I think
we got
ultimately there will be. By the way,
Maybe.
they'll have to
Maybe
have
you're
a
right.
truth in lending. Like almost, it's a predatory practice what you're about to describe, and therefore it should be illegal.
There are 3 things to check for you guys listening. Number 1, did you or are you in control of the registration, the registrar? Were you the person who went and registered your domain a long time ago, or did you put that in the hands of someone who said they could do it for you? Unfortunately, we are finding more and more that people are not in control of their domain, which to Chris's point, if you get sideways with the person who did register your site, you have to pick a new website name now. You have to pick a new brand for your practice now. There's
And you lose all that
nothing you
goodwill.
can do.
Yeah.
There's nothing you can do. So make sure you are the person who is in control of your registrar GoDaddy account, for example. Make sure you're the one. And then you
Very
control.
common in dentistry, by the way, that you'll hire a dental specific company. They will actually sell you a templated website that they've used for literally 500 other dentists. They'll charge you a shit ton for it. They'll put no specific information. All the pictures will be used from other places. So it will actually hurt your business. And on top of it, when you're like, hey, I want to move to the next person, like, oh, yeah, you don't own
You
it.
were just renting it. Yeah.
Well, no, I do, because I paid you $12,000.
Remember, I've been paying you $400 a month.
But I also paid you. Remember that $12,000 when you set it up for me? Yeah.
But
you
Craig,
don't own
lots
it.
of people won't even charge the $12,000. They'll just do it on an annuity standpoint, meaning like, hey, we do websites for $499 a month. Like, no, there's no upfront cost, and that's sometimes where they get you, right?
But they get you both ways.
Well, yeah. Okay. The second thing you want to make sure is who's doing your hosting. Okay. So if the person who's making your content is actually also in charge of your hosting account. So for those of you who don't know what hosting is, so here you've registered the domain. Now, where do all these files and videos live? So a host is a computer that sits in someone's platform. Computer warehouse that gets, when someone goes to www.yourwebsite.com, it pings that to then say, hey, send them all these files and text and send them my website. That is the hosting. It has to be, all those files have to be hosted somewhere. So make sure you're in control of your hosting, because that can be another thing that someone can hold you hostage with. is no, no, no. Those are my files. Let's say there's someone who made your site and they're hosting it for you. If you get sideways with them and you try to get your content, meaning your web page, your pictures, your all the stuff, you could be held hostage. And they could say, well, you know what? It's mine. It's my IP. You were just renting it. Whatever. Go make a new website. And you would be forced to have to go make a new site. You could get legal with them, of course, but by then, you know, it,
Yeah,
you,
they've taken your site
it's
down.
been catastrophic to you. So make sure you are the one in control of your domain by the registrar. And if you're not, demand
Yeah,
set
while
up a
things are
GoDaddy
good, at
account
least
and
while things are good.
demand a domain transfer that
That's
can be
called
transferred.
domaining,
No, it's not.
demandating. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Demandating. You can be transferred to your account with a request from GoDaddy, and they can walk you through how to do that. But that domain needs to be transferred to uh your domain.
Yeah.
And
And
then
by the way,
hosting.
if a lot of this stuff is there just two on the ownership, or is
This
there
is not
three?
over people's head, Craig. If that's
No,
where
no,
you're
no,
about
no,
to
no.
go.
I'm not going there. Stop it. You're so sensitive. Is this just two on the ownership?
3.
Yeah.
Own your
I mean,
code.
what?
Yeah, you got to own your code too.
Well, that's what the site is, right? I mean, the site is your files.
If you're
Yeah.
listening to this and you're like, holy smokes, like this is just, I didn't even know about this. This is the type of thing that you have to be like, okay, I've got to get a little bit more education beyond like how to polish my preps and polish my margins. And this is exactly why we host the summit. And the summit is designed to, it's not, when you look at what there's things that, average dentists are saying, well, I know how to cut a crown prep. I don't know how to do endo in 5 minutes. I don't know how to place an implant, but you don't know that you don't know this stuff. And in life, the real heavy growth comes from when you learn things you didn't know that you didn't know. Does that make sense? Do people follow that? Because if you know you don't know it, then it's within the realm of knowing. Like if you know what you know, and then you're like, I don't know how to place an implant, that's still within your knowing. So all this stuff we talk about is the reason why we do the summit. And it is just amazing.
Number 1 through 10, Craig, you are right. You are so right. Number one through 9 is like cool things to tweak and do.
Cool. Yeah.
Number
Cool.
10 can put you out of business if you don't comply.
Or all the other things all the mistakes we've made. So, I'm just talking about the summit for a second because it is, you will readily attend a summit because you're like, I want to learn this specific thing. But this is the most important thing. When I talk to dentists, and I'm talking to one right after we hang up today, because he wants to ask a question about something. It's a friend of a friend. And I just know how the conversation is going to go. Hey, can you help me with A, B, C? Okay, well, why A and B and C? Well, because I'm trying to fix D and C. Well, why are you fixing D and C? Well, I don't really know. Well, what do you want to do? I don't really know. Well, what are you doing right now? Well, I'm solo and I open up a second practice over here, and the second practice is losing money, and the third practice is losing me more money. Like no vision. And I just feel like, oh damn, like someone should have got to you earlier. So what am I trying to say here? I'm trying to say that there's an epidemic in dentistry of prescription consulting where everybody's telling you exactly what you need. And you're not getting the true advice. It's predatory as well. A lot of non-dentists are in our space. And Peter and I have, essentially for 40 years, give or take a couple. How many years do you own a business, Peter? I'm 22, I think now.
19.
So I'm 23 and 19. I don't do math quick, but they get 40 some odd years, 2 years of cumulative experience, both running straight forward, running into brick walls, getting our butts kicked, falling down, dusting ourselves off, getting back up. Between the two of us and our team that leads as well, Erica, Sharisa, Brittany, and those girls, I don't know of anybody that has the brain trust that we do. So I'm making a plea because I know it's selling out. It's going to sell out shortly. I'm just making a plea. If you have time in June 4th, 5th, and 6th in Nashville, get to the Bulletproof Summit page and register. Take your team. You will not be disappointed. We guarantee you will not be disappointed. And by the way, if you're sitting on a lot of cash because you did well in 2021, do it now. Go ahead and register now. Get the expense off your books so that you can actually take the tax deduction today. Because
that's great advice. We always think about that in terms of equipment, Greg, right? Like I'm going to buy a Cerac, but hell yeah, like invest in your team for 2021 tax benefit for a benefit in 2022.
Yeah.
It's
And
amazing.
the worst possible investment is always better than the best possible spend, or the worst possible spend rather, because you're investing in your team.
What?
And we've just seen, I'm sorry. I was
What's
hoping you
that?
wouldn't catch that because I just realized I
What the hell
said
are you
what.
talking about? The worst possible investment?
I was like,
Yeah,
wait,
yeah.
what's
I
happening?
realized I said that as I was saying, and I'm like,
I mean, you were
they're not
holding
even
all in.
listening to me. They're not listening to me. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is investing in your team pays a
What I'm
tremendous
trying to
dividend.
say is,
Yeah, what I'm trying exactly. Look. Come on, man. Look. No, but
what?
it's a wonderful investment. I wanna see all of you guys there. We guarantee the result. So I had friends that just went to a well-attended seminar in the last couple of weeks, and like, damn, there was not a whole lot of meat there.
And you know what's
So
fun? Oh yeah,
we
yes,
won't talk
there's
about that one. There
yeah.
just wasn't. I mean, listen, it was fun, and I can promise you, there's ones that might be more fun because the white party and the crew and the stuff and the drinking. It's not about that. Although we do have fun, this is really heavy lifting.
And this one's in Nashville, so you get two birds with one stone with this one. Come on.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true. That is true.
What's
Nash
also
Vegas.
interesting, Craig, is I think selfishly we push this summit a lot too because we get to meet new people, like new dentists who are like, we didn't even know you. Like, this is
Oh
awesome.
yeah.
Like,
Oh
where
my
have
God.
you been? And like now they join our, then they
Yeah.
join the Mighty Network and get on Bulletproof Dental, and now we're contributing there, and like everyone gets to win. And like we get to meet, we
Yeah,
selfishly get to meet like these badass dentists,
Yeah.
right?
So
Like who have been just like
case
lurking in the
in point. I won't tell the name, but I'm going to talk about Jeffrey. Okay, I won't say the last thing because I don't know if he wants to be mentioned because it say some private stuff about him. At our last summit, we had a VIP, and he attended the VIP, and the VIP includes like lunch, breakfast and lunch, and special seating and special meals and stuff like that. And so I sit down, and this guy says, "Hey, I'm Jeffrey," and I'm like, "I'm Craig." He's like, "I know who you are," and I just want to start by saying you're one of my favorite people I've ever known in my life. And I'm like, wow, that's incredible. But I don't think you should get to know me any better because you're going to wind up not liking me. I'm going to
let you
misspeak, or
down.
I'm going to let you down. You're going to know what a real jackass I really am. He's like, no. And I remember I called Pete over. I'm like, so, well, tell me a little bit about yourself. And he's like, oh, well, over here, this is Diane, this is my COO. This is Erica, she's my blank, and this is my blank. I'm like, dude, what are you up to? He's like, well, listen, I've listened to every single word. I've read the Bulletproof hygiene book twice, and I've listened to every single thing you've said, and I've implemented all of it. I'm like, okay, so where are you at? I'm like, tell me, let's get to numbers. I'm expecting him to say like, yeah, I got a $2.5 million practice, 4 ops. That's what I was expecting. He's like, yeah, we're going to be at 26 million top line and 6.5 million of EBITDA. I was like, wait, Jeff, I'm sorry. Can you repeat that again? I'm like, Peter, come over here. I'm like, this dude listens to what we say and has a business that's almost double what it's like basically what Peter and I are combined at that point. And I'm like, so it's just the magic of, I always say Tiger Woods, his golf coach, doesn't play golf as good as Tiger. But just because we are leading a next generation of dentists that are far exceeding what we're capable of. And this is case in point. When he met Brittany, he was telling Brittany things. And I'm like, Brittany, how does he know that about you? He's like, oh, it's in the book. I'm like, oh, I forgot he read it twice. So, so the point I'm trying to make is that knowledge is not power. Execution is power. You go there, you bring your team, you'll engage them, you'll get things done. And we promise, in fact, we guarantee that you get 10 times what you paid. 10 times what you paid. So if your expenses are blank and you don't generate that in the next year, you're getting a refund check from us. Yeah. Guaranteed.
Yeah, it's just cool. I think it's,
cool.
I think it's just, it's becoming tribal at this point. I think it's very
it is
resonating with a certain group of a certain type of dentist. And so it's just neat to get to see some of these like just badass dentists and badass business team leaders and badass hygienists that are all now finding their people, their tribe, and then being able to share authentically. And Craig, that's how you and I started. It was like I was just looking for someone that was like not trying to be. I wanted to share my secrets, and I wanted someone to share me their secrets because I was like, I don't have any more. Like I'm stuck. I can't learn anything else if someone's not willing to give me their stuff, and vice versa. Like how am I going to move forward? And as we know, I've stolen lots of things from you in your practice over the years, right? And you've stolen lots of things from me. And stolen's maybe not the right verb.
Borrowing.
It was
But now it's it's a total different level. Like our mastermind in Miami that we went to, I was like, we just learned so much.
Mhm.
You know, that's the beautiful thing about, you know, helping each other. You can't help somebody without helping yourself in the process. It's such a cool thing. And the level I would not have gotten through COVID without the mastermind. You know, we had that first mastermind and we took everybody's money, and COVID shuts down the world. We're like, damn, what do we do? And we plowed ahead, and it was amazing for us, selfishly speaking. But yes, our ecosystem's expanding. We're sharing best practices. We're implementing across different channels. And frankly, everything I'm doing at the practice level now, I'm like, this is such a cool bulletproof thing. Maybe I could roll this out. We could do something bigger. So it's exciting. It's a very exciting time. And it's exciting as we go into 2022, because I see a greater level of engagement for the Bulletproof network than ever before. I see something very readily in our crosshairs that would just make so much sense. We're all individually handling the same challenges. We're all working the same problems, and there's ways to do it together. So
I think it's more important now, Craig, as an industry, to hold hands. I really do. I know
sure.
that's been the narrative for a while, right? With consolidation and things happening, but I think it's really important for practicing owning dentists to be holding hands as much as possible right now.
For sure. Yeah. 100%.
Guys, if you think about the timeline for this in June, I mean, that's what, 5-6 months away. What a great timeline for people to follow all of these suggestions and revamp their website so they can hit the ground running when everyone shows up to Nashville in June. Like, get going. Get going.
Yep.
All right.
Cool, guys.
Loved it, guys. Love being just the three of us. All right.
We can make it if we try. Just Chris, you guys sing. That was good.
Craig just dipped out on that one.
Who did?
All right, everybody. Well, thanks for tuning in. And don't forget, leave us a review. Check out us on bulletproof.dental.
We love bp.com. How cool is that?
We love bp.com. If you do love us and you feel like giving us a shout out on video, there's a cool little thing we've created to get like a little video testimonial. Maybe we'll use it on the podcast. Maybe we'll use it in Summit advertising, but just like it's our oxygen. We'd like to hear it from you guys. Like, if we've made impact in your life whatsoever, go to welovebp.com and you can just record something on your phone. Have a good Friday, guys. All right.
Thank you.